I'm Patrick Finn. These are some of the representatives of the ASHA 220 class. The rest of them are seated right here. That's the Arts and Science Honors Academy. And basically, the Arts and Science Honors Academy has been running for about 8 years at the University of Calgary. And the idea is to bring together kind of the best and the brightest. We recruit these people. We ask them actually to apply into this program. And they tend to be at the top level of GPA. They've done lots of things in their communities. They commit to doing a year abroad, et cetera. And over the years, what they've done is they've gotten themselves together and studied a series of great books, the important works, in order to collaborate and discuss issues that are of importance for all students, the idea being that we would create a more robust citizen as a result. This year, they asked me to take over the class, and I said, okay, terrific, I'm going to do that, but what I want to do is I want to actually go to the city. I want to really work with people that are telling us about the problems of today so we can make a contribution. Hello. That sounds better even to me. I sound deeper even there. Okay, so did you miss the entire first part of that? No, you're okay. I told you I was loud. So what we did is we decided we would pick 10 key areas. You'll find out what they are because there's going to be another component coming up. And we would work in those areas. And so we wanted to ask people in the city that are working in these areas what their challenges were. The idea I had is that we hear from people that are interested in creativity that schools kill creativity. And I think that they do. Not the University of Calgary, all other schools, but not the University of Calgary. At the University of Calgary, what I decided we would do is we'll take the best and brightest, and before grumpy old guys like me destroy their minds and convince them to believe certain types of things, we'll ask them how to fix everything in the world. And so that's what we've been doing. We've spent the year talking to experts from the city. Everyone I called said yes and showed up. Michael from Calgary Economic Development came down, and we've had all kinds of people come into the class we've been studying all year. So today, you're going to hear the first hit on the stuff that we've been doing. And what the class has decided to do, I didn't do any of this. I did no editing. They've done all of this themselves. I say that because it's so good, not because I'm trying to sort of abscond myself. They've put all this together, and what they've done is they've decided to tell you the story of an ideal citizen. Now, because I'm an academic, so I made them start by reading Plato. And as you know, Plato said that society should be run by philosopher kings, that the smartest people should run society. And so I said, well, that's a good place for us to start, so let's read Plato. So we've created a character, Phyllis King. You'll get the connection there. And we're going to tell you her story, but I'm going to let you hear the story from them rather than me intervening, and then after that, I'll come back and I will bother you with a few things. So without further ado, the story of Phyllis King.
This is the story of Phyllis King. She doesn't have a perfect life. In fact, she is no different than you or me, except that she lives in the best city in the world. Phyllis deals with universal issues including poverty, education, entrepreneurship, mental and physical health, philanthropy, arts and culture, and science and politics, just like any other citizen. This is the way we picture the ideal Calgary, how our city would deal with adversity, provide our citizens with opportunities to flourish, support those that struggle, and embrace the importance of community. Phyllis is not exceptional, but her story is.
My name is Phyllis King, and this is my story. It all began in the hospital closest to my neighborhood, and life was fairly normal. We lived in a nice, quiet neighborhood where everyone seemed to know everyone. Some of my best and earliest memories are of the park close to my house. My family and I spent a lot of time there. There was a beautiful park with a community center, a playground, and some bike paths, and even a skating rink. The community took care of most of the facilities, and in a way, that brought us all together and made us feel connected. I always thought our neighborhood was the best in Calgary because we had a farmer's market where my family and I went every Sunday. I have great memories of drinking hot chocolate and from our favorite stand. The farmer's market was a great space as everyone in the community could go and connect with everyone else who visited the market. I loved exploring the little shops and finding yummy samples. It was also the place where my parents bought all our groceries. My mom was an amazing cook, and she used her culinary passion to ensure our meals were healthy and never boring. When I asked her where she learned to cook so well, she told me it was thanks to the local programs offered in the community. My community offered a lot of programs now that I think about it, and I know they were a critical part of my life growing up. Even as a child, my parents introduced me to many different activities. I always thank them for that now. There were sports programs like community soccer or baseball, and there were arts programs as well, where I learned to draw and paint. There were even Girl Guides and Scouts groups in my neighborhood, which a lot of my friends were involved in. When I was young, I just thought these activities were fun, but looking back, I see the positive influence they had on developing my creativity and imagination. I was also thoroughly involved in activities outside my own neighborhood. My family and I visited the Science Centre frequently, where we got all the opportunity to learn new things and make our own discoveries. Though at the time, I didn't feel like it was learning at all. This is where my passion for science developed.
I was 5 when I started school, and it was there that I met my first best friend, Jamie. We played a lot together, and were even in the same classes most years. School was a big adjustment, but it was still exciting, and I enjoyed every minute of it. Well, almost every minute. I learned about things I was already interested in, and I got to explore new interests as well. The teachers made the biggest difference at school. They were so passionate about what they were teaching and invested in helping us reach our highest potential. Our school also played an important part in the community. My class helped start a local garden, and so the entire community was involved. The food we grew went into our school lunch program, where we learned about healthy eating, and we even got to help in the kitchen sometimes. I was lucky enough that my mom always sent me to school with healthy lunches, but I was happy when I saw that all the kids in my classes were involved, and everyone at my table had good food to eat as well. I graduated from elementary school with amazing memories and lifelong friendships. Junior high introduced us to many more options. I continued my love of the arts in art class and became involved in the music program as well. Our option programs were very inclusive. Whether you were interested in shop, auto tech, computer tech, or you name it, we had it. All of my classes were very hands-on type learning. We participated in many field trips, labs, and other activities that gave us a hands-on experience. A couple of my best memories were when some of the science students from the University of Calgary came to our science class to teach us about their research. We didn't really understand all the complicated stuff, but they explained it to us in a way that was fun and exciting. It was like the Science Centre all over again, and it really contributed to my passion for science. I remember not being able to wait to get to university just so I could learn more about what the students were teaching us. Except for a few bumps along the way, junior high was a great continuation of my elementary education. We explored the arts and sciences just like before, but with added trades and option classes. All of us started to develop our own ideas of passion, except for me, because I love them all. And we were aided by excellent and highly knowledgeable teachers who loved sharing what they knew.
High school was a whole new world, but thankfully I had Jamie by my side when we started. We had been friends all through junior high, and now we were going to start high school together. It wasn't very long into high school that I started getting worried about him, though. He just wasn't himself. At first, I thought it was the transition to a new school, although we'd had amazing support. Eventually, he opened up to me, and as it turned out, Jamie was depressed. At first, I panicked. I was scared and worried about him, and in those first few moments, I wasn't quite sure what to do. Then I remembered all of our health classes, starting way back in elementary school, where we had talked about situations like this and what to do. We had been learning about this for so long that we understood that it was important to talk about how we were feeling, not only physically, but mentally as well. The lessons and open conversations through these classes really helped, and I think that made it easier for Jamie to approach me about it, even though it was still difficult for him to us. I took Jamie to a teacher we both trusted, but because he was our math teacher, we were worried he might not understand. Even though it wasn't his area of expertise, he was very supportive and ended up recommending professionals that could help. He went with Jamie to see the school counselors, and they worked with Jamie and his family to deal with his depression. He's doing much better these days, and I feel good knowing that if I ever need support for my own mental health, the resources are always available. In addition to Jamie, I also made another best friend. Lily was different from my other friends as she hadn't grown up here in Calgary. She and her family had immigrated here. Her parents were doctors, but life in their home country was difficult, and they decided to make a better life for themselves here in Calgary. Lily told me at first this dream was complicated. Her parents were worried that they wouldn't be able to work as doctors because of the different standards and requirements. Luckily, that wasn't an issue for long. Through various immigrant services in the city and their community, they were able to be trained and become certified physicians here in Calgary. I realized how critical these programs are to families like Lily's, as they enabled her parents to make a living and contribute to society in the way that they were trained to do. Her parents even started their own practice in their community that provided much needed medical care for our rapidly growing population. High school, as you can already tell, was packed full of new experiences. Jamie, Lily, and I spent many hours together fulfilling our service hours that were required to graduate. This was easy, as we had all been involved in the community since elementary. We also found it fun because we could participate in the things that we were passionate about. The three of us even took the same career and life management course. This class had to be the most valuable course I ever took in high school. I'm so glad it was mandatory because I couldn't imagine leaving high school without it. We learned more mental and physical health issues and how to cope with them. We learned about finances, getting jobs, and most importantly for a lot of us, what type of schooling we wanted to pursue after high school. There were so many options. Universities, trade schools, art schools, and even all those had subcategories. I remember the first day I looked at all the programs the University of Calgary had to offer. I didn't even know what some of those were, but we learned all about them in career and life management. And when it came time, we were able to make informed decisions about what we wanted to do. They even helped us with the applications and scholarships. I couldn't imagine doing it on my own.
I really had no idea what I wanted to do after graduation, but I knew that was okay. I took a variety of classes in high school, though most were geared towards university. I had friends that enrolled at SAIT and others that went to ACAD, but they all said that the programs they took in high school were excellent preparation. The shop classes were great and taught by educated, passionate teachers, as were the arts courses. I felt all the classes had meaning to them. We embraced the fact that one is never too old to visit the Science Center or get excited for a field trip, and that really added to the hands-on experience. We had more visits from post-secondary students, and they also helped us pick our paths. Just before I graduated, I turned 18, which was especially exciting because it was an election year, and I would finally be able to vote. Being an active citizen was very important to me, as I learned from my avid community involvement. But I was apprehensive about voting. What did I really know about our political system? Well, the more I thought about it, the more I realized I knew. Back in elementary, we'd been on various trips to City Hall, and as we progressed through grade school, we developed further knowledge of the local political system. The social studies program in high school tied all of these experiences together by offering an extensive look at the system and instilling the importance of civic engagement. There was even a website where I could answer a questionnaire, and it would tell me what political party best suited my beliefs. I felt very empowered and informed when election time finally rolled around. Life after high school presented so many options, and I'd begun thinking about these long before. I could go to university like my parents wanted, but there were colleges and trade schools, or I could even enter the workforce. I wanted my parents to be happy, but ultimately, I knew this decision had to be about me. By the time it came to apply for schools, I had so many options. I could even study abroad. The problem was would I ever decide? When it came time to make the decision, I thought about all the things Calgary had to offer. First, there were the arts. You can't go anywhere in Calgary without seeing some sort of art, whether it's murals on train cars or music in the streets, and of course, there's all the theaters and events across town. As well, science can be felt throughout the city, which was important to me. On top of it all, Calgary offered all the other clubs and activities I loved. After thinking about all those amazing factors, I knew I just couldn't leave. The University of Calgary was the best fit for me, and I ended up enrolling in a year of general studies. I was halfway into my first year at university when my friends and I were at one of our favorite downtown cafes, and I spotted a poster on the bulletin board. It was an ad for a small business fair taking place at the Stampede grounds. It reminded me of the farmers market that I grew up with. I knew instantly that I wanted to check it out, and luckily for me, the C train went right to the grounds. I didn't own a car, and I still don't, so other modes of transportation were very important to me. The transit system was accessible and efficient. As well, there are bike paths so that no one has to ride on busy roads. I took the train to the grounds that weekend where I was inspired to start up my own small business.
I assumed starting up my own small business would be difficult, and I was right. But it was made possible by all the resources available to me. The adventure began when I switched my major to business at the University of Calgary. And through that degree, I made valuable connections and friendships. I even made connections across the world when I participated in a year abroad exchange offered through the school. It was really one of the best experiences I had in university, and I learned a lot about different cultures and myself. Back home, networking on and off campus was vital, and I spent many weekends at farmers markets and small business fairs. After I graduated, I was prepared to put my education to work for me in the real world. My business started at the small business fair at the Stampede grounds, and I was so proud the day my business first opened. My passion for music inspired my business, and at first we sold albums of local artists, but in a few years it became so much more. We even had our own location long before I thought I would. Life was great, my business was thriving, and my family growing. Jamie and I got married shortly after each of us was finished school. We bought a house in a neighborhood similar to the one I had grown up in, and neither of us would have entertained the idea of moving cities. We wanted our children to live in that same creative, innovative environment that we had both enjoyed. This new neighborhood was lacking something, though, and it took Jamie and I a little while to realize what it was. When it finally dawned on us, we felt ridiculous that we hadn't realized it sooner. There was no community center. There were still various activities going on, but most of these took place elsewhere or in other people's homes. With a little bit of research, Jamie and I found a foundation that would help fund the project in our community, and in no time at all, we had our own little community center. There are tons of programs there now, and the community is thriving. It wasn't long after the community center that another project took roots in our neighborhood. An affordable housing project was going to be built in some old nearby apartments. I found out about this project through the City of Calgary webpage. It was the same one I'd been using since grade school to find volunteer projects in and around the city. There were links to information about volunteer projects, charities, philanthropy, and even contact information for small local businesses and art events. At first, I was hesitant about this project. I loved helping others, but these were people I didn't know coming into our tightly knit community. After research about the housing project, I realized it was an excellent idea. People that were in need of affordable housing were going to take part in the building the complex. The idea was that they would gain valuable job skills while also getting a place to live. Through the philanthropic section of the website, I was able to make a donation to the project, as they were in need of funding. The complex was built in no time at all, and it didn't take long for the new residents to become integrated parts in our community.
By this time, Jamie and I had 2 healthy, happy kids, and they both enjoyed childhood similar to mine. They played sports, joined clubs, and joined school when they were old enough. Then we had our 3rd child, our son Tyler, and everything changed. Tyler was born with special needs, and as parents, Jamie and I were scared and had many questions. Would we have access to the resources our child needed to thrive? What would life be like for him? We wanted all of our children to be able to reach their full potential and have the best lives possible. But we didn't know how to make sure things weren't any different for Tyler. Drawing upon our experiences, Jamie's depression, and Lily's life as a new immigrant, we knew we would find the resources inside our own community and city. With a bit of research, our city's webpage didn't fail us here either. We found the programs Tyler would need to be able to flourish, just like his two older siblings. My small business thrived until it was no longer a small business, but a much larger one. Money was never a big factor for Jamie and I. We were just happy that we were both doing things we loved and that our children were also happy and thriving. I made sure to make time for my various passions, and I worked hard to keep a balance of work and play. My family and I visited the theater, explored the outdoors, one of Jamie's passions, and I continued the family tradition of visiting the Science Centre with my kids. Sometimes I can't tell who had more fun, the kids or me. We still go to the park, and we still enjoy the bike paths designed for active families like mine. When it came time to start thinking about the next phase in our lives, Jamie and I took advantage of the retirement planning programs offered by our community center. I am very reassured that I will continue to provide for my family and that we are prepared for whatever happens to us in life. I've come to understand that everyone flourishes better in a thriving, connected society. So I am also glad to know that these services are available to everyone who needs them. I don't know how different my life would have been had I not grown up in such an amazing city, but I am grateful for all Calgary has offered me and will continue to offer me. It's astonishing that in a city of over 1 million people, everyone can find a place to call home.
Phyllis King's story. It is our story and it is your story. Phyllis did not have a perfect life, but then nobody ever does. Thanks to her city, however, she did have an ideal life. Calgary already has many of the great qualities that made Phyllis's life so ideal, but there are always opportunities for improvement. By taking advantage of these opportunities and learning from the past, we can build our own version of the ultimate place to be and make Calgary the greatest city in the world.
Thanks so much. So I want to draw your attention to a couple of things that happen when we think about this type of a story. This is a group of students that are not all from Calgary. They're from all different places, big cities, small cities, not all from in the province, and they're in all different disciplines, and they're from across the political spectrum. When they were set the task of meeting with leaders to study these types of problems that we all face inside of our society, their solution was to come up with a positive vision of what an ideal life would be. There is no conflict. You'll notice through the types of things that have been expressed, you could see these go across political spectrums and things like this, and it's just about what would work. So it's been an incredible thing to be involved in. And I would like to suggest that this is a type of education that is incredibly useful for us in the 21st century. This is creative education. If what we do is spend all of our time focusing our attention on problems, then we will find more problems. Because if beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so is ugliness. It's not that we need to turn away from serious issues within society, but we need to think about how can we look at what we do right and do more of it, particularly when we're in a city that is so blessed as the one that we happen to find ourselves in. We live at the start, really, and I don't think the beginning, I think we're inside of it, of a new Renaissance. Often when we think of the Renaissance, we think of the great European Renaissance, and that was fueled by the advent of the printing press. The printing press came along, and all kinds of new creativity was possible. We're now in a Renaissance that's being fueled by a transformation that dwarfs that one. It is larger, and it is faster, and it is on a far broader geographic scale. And we will live inside of the tectonic shift caused by this transformation for our entire lives. And the only response to that is to be nimble, to be creative. We're not going to have time to stop and think about little problems. We just need to be looking towards the future continually. That's why I like the Eyes High strategy, which I mentioned partly so I don't get fired for bringing a class to a bar in the middle of the day. Sorry, Stage and Grill, but nonetheless. But we need to think about new ways of working together, not just reforming the past, not just little tweaks here and there, but radical transformation that involves giving everyone the type of education that they're called the genius class on campus, that they get where they're able to explore all kinds of different types of things, like having, by the way, a business student put together that artistic presentation that was going there. That was 1,400 individual slides that she had going there for you. It's probably the biggest PowerPoint show you'll ever see in your life, so there you go. You can journal about that now. And so before I let you go and before I sort of ask you if you have any questions for us, I'm going to give you a test. We've prepared a test for you, and we're going to pass it around. We've got some pens and things like that. There is a pop quiz for you because we're collecting information. And so we want to get your feedback on the 10 subject areas that we've been studying. So each and every one of you is going to get a test. Well, let's start passing those out now, students. And it's for the students, so fill this in. This is not for me. This is for the students. Now, I just want to tell you where we're going to go with all of this. We've spent the first part of the year meeting with experts and doing research. We've got our own research librarian, Rosvita Vasca, works with us all the time, our own room in the library, so we're compiling all kinds of relevant research to back up the types of findings that we're doing, but the report that we're creating is not a series of long essays. There will be background documentation. It's a bunch of 3-pagers with abstracts that we're presenting to City Hall. That's our report of the Philosopher Kings. Because our belief is that research only is complete when it actually comes into play, when it comes back to the city. Just as Plato said when he first started to dream of what a soul is and what a city is and what we can do to be better citizens, we need to return to the city. We need to be doing our work in order to be involved in community. And so our project is to take the best and brightest, to take a look at the tough challenges of today, and then to bring our answers downtown to see if we can't help. There's no reason for these people to wait another 10 years before they start contributing to this beautiful and vibrant community we have, because they have the ideas that we need for the 21st century. Thanks so much.